So you might be wondering, how do you actually get Linux? You run to your local store just to find out they only have a Windows, Mac, or Chromebook. So basically what Linux is, it is a type of computer that can be installed on any machine. So basically if you have an existing Windows computer, you can install Linux on that machine and it will replace Windows. So to do this, you will need an existing computer. It can be a laptop or a desktop. A Steam Deck is already Linux on it, but I mean, in this tutorial, I'm just going to assume you have at least 250 gigabytes of disk space. You will need a USB, thumb drive, flash drive, whichever one, however you prefer to call it. All of the data in that USB drive is going to be erased. So be sure to back up any data that's on it that you need. If you do not care about the data that's in it, then go ahead and proceed. Your hard drive will be erased as well, so make sure you back up any important files so you can keep your files safe, and all of your files are transferable to Linux, so make sure you back them up from your hard drive to some external storage device. You will need a web browser, a USB burner. Think of it as like when you burn a CD using software, it doesn't mean that you're literally burning it. You're basically erasing all of the files that are stored into that device, and you're replacing it with the default layout of folders and files basically. All of these options are compatible with Windows, but there's one that's not compatible with Linux or Mac, and I'll tell you which ones. So let me tell you the first one that's only compatible for Windows, which is Rufus. So if you go to rufus.ie in your web browser and you search it up, install the one that makes the most sense to you. You need to install that software. So that's the software you're going to use to erase the USB file or the USB thumb drive. Another alternative, which works for all platforms, is called Balena Etcher. Etcher.balena.io. It will take you to a website where there's a lime green download button. Go ahead and click on that, and it's very simple. And there's a third option called the USB Imager that is on GitLab. You want to install whichever one that best suits you. With any USB burner, they have the file system type. So make sure the file system type is FAT32. If it says NTFS or if it says FAT16, make sure it is FAT32. What that means is that a language that your computer can read the storage device. So like, for example, if you open up in Windows, it's called File Explorer, or I don't know how it is in Mac, but basically the application that lets you view your files or all your data that your computer can read from your file system. The partition type, it should be GPT. If it says MBR, make sure it's GPT. That is a partition scheme or a partition type. So basically, GPT partition scheme is like a marble cake where you get a mix of flavors to create like a sense of that the cake is unique for every slice. That slice is unique. Whereas a regular cake, that's a non-marble cake, which would be the MBR partition scheme. So you know every slice has the same flavor, that every slice is vanilla on the inside. That's how I would think of it. So on your web browser, you want to search up DistroWatch. You can see on my right side here, there's a bunch of Linux distributions. What that means is that there's a bunch of Linuxes, to put it informally. But if you want to be technical, it's their Linux distributions. You can pick whichever one you want, even though there's differences between Linux distribution that starts out with a command line versus one that's already set up for you. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them. Pick whichever one you want. But choose whichever Linux distribution you want. I'm going to pick Nobara Linux for this example, and it's really easy. So you go to the names that are on the right side, and then you want to go ahead and scroll down and click Nobara, or you can search it up on your web browser. Just search up Nobara Linux and it should pop up as one of the results. Try to find their .iso file. So on the Nobara page, it says download now. At the recording of this video, I have footage of the website before even updated until recently. I just checked the website and it shows like, oh, it's Nobara 40 now. I forget what version it showed last time, but it's a lot better now. They just updated it. So in my video footage, it shows that it was on January something, that it was updated in January something. For you, it should show Nobara 40, or at the time of uploading the video, it should say like July something that it was updated. But whatever, okay? The point is you need the .iso file installed. So you want to download the .iso file, and that's the image that you're going to burn to the USB. So once you're done, you need to open up your USB burner application, select the ISO file and the USB drive, and then start burning it. Once that's done, you want to leave your USB plugged in. So you want to power off your computer and then reboot it. And then during the reboot process, you're going to press one of the F keys. It's going to say F1, F2, F3, something, something on the on your keyboard. If it's not working upon boot up, you're gonna have to reboot again, because the only way to get into it is through the booting process. So if it's not one of the F keys, then you can press escape. So the point is to get into the BIOS, and then in the BIOS, every BIOS is going to look different. So what you want to do is get into your boot menu or your boot options, and you want to change the boot order. You want to make sure that the USB is on the top priority, so that when you reboot, it's going to boot into that USB, which that USB now has Linux since you burned it with the Linux ISO file, and then reboot. So when you reboot, your computer is going to boot into Linux from your USB drive, and don't worry, nothing has happened to your data yet on your computer, your storage device. So your storage device is safe until you hit the install button, so don't worry about that. At this point, you will be taken to the desktop environment, or if you're on Arch Linux, it's the command line, or whichever Linux distribution you picked. I'm just going to assume it has an install button, and it has graphics on it. If the Linux distribution has graphics on it, I'm going to assume there's an install button. You want to make sure that your Wi-Fi works, test if all the applications work. You want to test your camera, your microphone, speakers, anything. Test everything, make sure they work beforehand. And if you like that Linux distribution, then go ahead and click the install button and you follow the process. For example, if you're using Arch Linux, that's a different process. Let me know if you want me to make a video about that. The whole point is to get you to Linux, so yeah, once that install is done, your storage is going to be wiped. So make sure everything's backed up before you hit the install button. And after that, you've successfully installed Linux. And after you install it, you power off your computer, and then you can reboot up your computer without the USB. You have finally installed a Linux. You finally have a Linux computer. Congratulations. Now, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment. If you like my content, please subscribe. If you want to support my channel, I have a Patreon account. It's patreon.com/JozennyX. So thank you. Peace.